2 emails from her, all before the sun came up. I haven't even had my second cup of coffee. I typed back a hasty but professional reply to her query and hit send. I jammed my cell phone back into my dress pocket. I promised myself I'd take a sterner line with my arch-nemesis turned client. She knows the crew of I Do is arriving today. She's trying to rattle me. And it was working. I wondered for the 1000th time what I'd been thinking when I'd agreed to throw a modern-day debutante ball, free of charge, for the posh Dunlap Women's Academy at the behest of Hurricane Helene. The winter ball was to be held in 2 days, encroaching on filming for the reality show. It would be a tight turnaround, not one I'd ever agreed to in saner moments. But I had needed a mammoth favor, and Helene had granted my wish as the worst incarnation of a fairy godmother a girl could have. And now she'd called in her chips. I was at her constant beck and call. Thank goodness Helene was rattling me from afar. She was ensconced in her second home in Boca Raton, and although being nearly 2,000 miles away kept her from popping in unannounced, she still harangued me each day via Skype, text, and phone to check on my plans for the winter ball. Did we take on too much? I turned to Rachel in a moment of panic. The start of a headache began to spread between my eyes. How will we pull off the winter ball, finish planning Dakota's wedding, and film for I Do? Rachel waved her hand and dismissed my worries, but her keen green eyes told a different story. You pulled off Whitney and Ian's wedding in a month, all while renovating the house. We've held 6 weddings since. You could do this in your sleep. I took a steadying breath and slowly let it out. I'd just feel better if everyone were on the same page with the winter ball plans. The Winter Ball Committee directed me to ignore Helene's choices, and she's going to go ballistic when she finds out. Not only had I had to listen to every whim, concern, and demand from Helene, I'd also had to keep her in the dark about not honoring those wishes. It turned out I wasn't the only enemy Helene had. Her adversaries at the school had used her absence and snowbird status to undo all her plans for the ball. I checked my watch and let out a gust of air. And I wish there were more time between the winter ball and Dakota's wedding. Rachel snorted. You didn't really have a choice. Let's just make lemon slushies out of the crummy lemons we've been given. My sister was right. Being featured on a popular reality show was just what we needed to advertise our B&B and wedding planning business. Rachel and I had spent the last 2 weeks with a bowl of popcorn between us, watching every previous episode of I Do. We were nervous about appearing on television and wanted everything to go off without a hitch. The show was edited to highlight drama between the wedding planners, venue owners, celebrity couples, and the host of the show, Adrienne Larson. But I was determined for the Thistle Park B&B to come across in a good light, with minimal shenanigans. Besides, Rachel continued, bringing me back to the present, we have an unlimited budget for this wedding. It's going to be spectacular. Her eyes gleamed with Gatsby-esque plans for Dakota and Beau's big day. We have to take their personal style into account, Rach, I reminded my sister. Dakota isn't a fan of bling and razzle-dazzle, as far as I can tell. The bride selections had been tasteful and restrained, and seemed to value sentimentality over opulence. But Dakota's measured choices hadn't stopped Rachel from living vicariously through her, and she'd suggested some over-the-top details that Dakota had politely declined. Roxanne, Dakota's mother, was all too willing to advocate for a flashy wedding. I'd logged some tense time already during conference calls with the bride and her mother. I deftly deferred to Dakota, and Roxanne had eventually come around. Still, the wedding plans so far seemed to be a compromise effort between dueling mother and daughter, and I hoped Dakota was genuinely happy. "Oh!" Rachel whipped around.